welcome you all to this specialized webinar of the Institute of Chartered Accountant of India, which is focusing on the agri and the food industry. Friends, in this series of webinars from the CMIB, we've been focusing on the industry-specific issues and industry-specific consideration. This is a unique initiative of CMIB, and I'm thankful, to my CMIB team led by Anita Suneja ji, Nishi Agarwal, Anil Lal ji, who are making these webinars possible. And of course, my sincere thanks to all these speakers and moderators who are bringing in an industry perspective. So today's topic is agri and food, and of course, this is a very important industry in the Indian economy. India has long been an agrarian economy, and food sector and agriculture sector still plays a very, very important role. And there are many leading players and many other players in this field. To discuss, the finer nuances about this industry, we have two very esteemed speakers today with us, CA Vikas Jain and CA Leon Verdes. And to coordinate this session, we have two moderators, one very experienced one, Shivcharan Singhal ji, and one pretty young one, Arushi Gupta ji. Of course, Shivcharan ji is also very young, there is no doubt, young and energetic. But he has a fair amount of experience of dealing with the industries, in specializing in the SME IPOs also, and in various other fields. So I'm thankful to the CMIB team, as well as the speakers and the moderators for this day. I'm sure that the speakers and moderators will bring out a unique perspective about this industry. So may now hand over the proceedings to the moderators to take the session forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Sanjeev ji. Yeah, our first session is regarding agri and food industry. That will be taken by CA Vikas Jain. Mr. Vikas Jain was qualified as chartered accountant, and along with that, he has also done the executive MBA through ISB. He has started his career from the Big Four companies, and at present he is CFO of Best Agro Limited, that is a listed entity. He is in the company is in the business of manufacturing and sales of plant protection chemicals. He has decades of experience. Prior to this, Vikas was the CFO of ADMA India, which is a subsidiary of an Israeli MNC and part of the same group. Vikas has done the working in PwC and KPMG. He has done the working in the field of strategy and business partnership, along with the role of heading accounts, finance, treasury, legal, and IT sector. He has received the CFO 100.
Arushi, kindly keep yourself on mute.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
He received the CFO 100 role of.
Anita, you should have the host right to take control.
Yeah. He received the CFO 100 role of honor award in 2020 and 22. He has taken part as a panelist in various CFO forums. He has given
Sir, you are on mute, sir.
Sorry. Yeah. I think, yeah. I think it was mute.
Now it's okay, sir. You can continue, sir.
Yeah. Vikas received the CFO 100 Role of Honor Award in 2020 and 22. He has taken part as a panelist in various CFO forums. He has given guest lectures in various B schools. He is part of the social groups also, along with the CA profession. He has also worked in the field of environment, betterment of women and children. And on the personal front, His interest in the hobbies of the sports, especially to badminton and yoga and dance. Now I hand over the phone to Mr. Vikas Jain to give his.
Thank you very much, Shiv Charanji. Uh, so let me share the presentation. Can you see the presentation?
Yes, sir. We can see it.
Yeah. Just 1 second. Yeah. Yeah. So, thank you very much. Just to start on the topic, so I belong to a industry which we basically call agri input companies. So presently, I'm working in a company called Best Agro Life and working as the CFO here. So, just a brief, quick background about Best Agro Life. We are a group with 4 subsidiaries and listed on both BSE, NSE, and having turnover close to 2,000 crores. So various parameters, we have 1,000 employees, we have full-fledged R&D, 4 manufacturing plants, and operations across India. So coming to the our main topic with respect to agri input industry, before that I would like to take you around how does the industry look like. So first, talking main about the agriculture itself. So as you all must be aware that agriculture, how key it is for Indian economy, since a lot of people are dependent upon agriculture. So almost more than 70 people directly or indirectly are in rural areas and dependent upon agriculture. So as you can see, 43% of the areas also are covered. So it plays a major role in India. So it is very important that whatever we grow, whatever we eat, everything it should be taken care to ensure that this industry grows, because being such a huge population, it becomes very important to ensure that we have food sufficiency. Uh, Various segments with respect to this specific industry on agri input is, firstly it starts with the seeds, then fertilizers, then comes the insecticide, pesticide. So these all are different segments, because generally we use interchangeably like fertilizer and pesticides as the same kind of industry, but these are all, even though related to agriculture, but still pretty different. So seeds, fertilizers, pesticides are the major ones which form part of agri input industry with respect to the product usage by the farmers. And then there are others like where the farmers have to use machinery for they use various farm machinery, including newer technology like drones and everything. So these are the major segments how the industry is divided. So each one of these segment has different risk and different opportunities, and the way it works is also different. For so fertilizers could be entirely different from pesticides, because fertilizers as such has huge incentives from government, but pesticides does not have similar kind of benefits. So the way it is sold, the way it is there in the market is also pretty different. So the other point which I was talking about is with respect to food sufficiency. India, as such, is in a place where the consumption per acre of land is pretty less with respect to the agrochemicals. So we need to ensure the land is limited and our population is ever growing. So we need to ensure that we need to grow more with the existing piece of land. So there are various things through which we can do. One is to have much better quality of seeds, hybrid quality of seeds, which will provide more yield, which will provide more nutrition. Then there are proper quality inputs. Even though we might believe that the plant protection chemicals is after all chemicals and does affect the human health, but uh, effectively it's not that way what we see. The point is, if we'll not use these agrochemicals, then our yield will drastically come down, which will affect the food production in India. So I hope you know that what happened in Sri Lanka, wherein suddenly they had stopped agrochemicals and there was huge shortage, and the company, the country itself went bankrupt. So it is pretty important that agrochemicals would be are used. The only point would be that they have to used judiciously, because if you use in excess or if you use in shortage, then the exact benefit of it will not come. With respect to the other farm practices, in case you want to grow more, is you need to have much more mechanization, because presently the average usage or the average holding by the farmers is pretty less here. So it's just about little more than 1 hectare, which is the average holding in India. So with such small holdings, it becomes very difficult for any farmer to put a lot of mechanization or to invest very high amount for capital items. So it becomes very important at the government level or at the state government level to provide certain facilities wherein even the small farmers could help in improving the mechanization, uh, resulting in higher production of food. So these ways you can actually try to increase the yield. India presently is at much lower level when compared to the average production from per acre of land. So we need to do a lot in terms of to ensure that to increase the efficiency and the productivity of the land. So this is the major composition, wherein the biggest is the rice, then followed by various crops. So our season is divided into two kharif. So the present season which is going on is kharif, and Rabi starts from anywhere from December going up to February. So you can see the major crops: so rice, pulses, sugarcane, cotton. All these are very important crops in India. Coming to opportunities and challenges in this industry, so one is already I mentioned about the growing demand for food. The other important point is with respect to the technology advancement. Now we would want, as I mentioned, a lot of mechanization, and we see a lot of newer technologies also coming. For example, drone is the latest one, wherein there is a lot of traction going on to say that the usage, the higher usage will improve the yield, improve the productivity of the land. Because presently, what happens is, even though we say that there's a lot of unemployment, still there is shortage of labor, even in agriculture. So there is a pretty high demand for the labor in agriculture as well. So this kind of technology will help to improve, because what a normal person will take say 2 to 3 hours to spray on a normal acreage of rice, 1 acre of rice, this drones will generally do it in 5 to 6 minutes. So it's a big advancement which would happen if more and more technology is used. So obviously the government support is required for those, which effectively will overall improve the agriculture, and not only for the domestic consumption but also uh, that we can export it at much larger levels. Coming to challenges, the biggest challenges was what I mentioned is the fragmentation because of the scale. The uh, per person usage is only just about 1 hectares, which is pretty less to do any big changes or big investments on that. Next is with other very big is the price sensitivity, because the farmer's holding is lesser, so he would always want to have the lowest price material and not the quality ones, because his cost goes up, and then there's no guarantee as to how much price he might get, even though there are various MSPs which are there. But those MSPs work for the minimum price which the government gives, which are only for limited crops. So any other crop, if you grow and then you spend more, but then you don't have the guarantee at what price you will sell, it becomes an issue for the farmer, and that's how the quality products or high quality products might not be used. Uh, and also in this industry, the competition is very high. Because of this high competition, obviously the ones which comes up with patented products, with differentiate products, need to do a lot of work and obviously will benefit as well. But with this higher competition, there are various challenges with respect to spurious material which comes into the market. Again, it becomes a big issue. Will not give any benefit and will not help the farmers at all. The last but not the least is the credit access. The farmers, even though a lot of waive offs of loan or those would happen, but still, given the required credit access, whatever they would need will doesn't come on time. So this also creates a lot of issues with respect to the flow, which have cash flow, which happens from the farmers to the dealers and ultimately to the companies. So this is an overall industry overview, just to say that okay, this agrochemical is close to uh, moving up to close to $7 billion industry. India ranks fourth with respect to the agrochemicals after US, Japan, and China. And on the right hand side, you can see that the majority usage is in insecticides. So within agri, there are like insecticide, pesticides, and herbicides. So herbicide is the one which is growing faster because this herbicides are actually helping in removing the additional weeds and those kind of issues from the crop. So what is that which will help the growth of this sector? The biggest one which is going on is China plus one. So we see a lot of, as a farmer, how it depends upon its active ingredients and technical material from China. Even this industry depends a lot on China for all the technical imports, technical and n minus one, n minus two, which is minus one, minus two of technicals. So, in order to improve the manufacturing, government is doing a lot of initiative, which also includes Make in India, and those is required because, uh, in the sense, too much dependence on China will also lead to various volatility in the prices, which we are seeing in last 3 4 years, where the prices suddenly goes up by 100% also, and then suddenly, if the season is bad, then it comes down by 50%, which creates a lot of volatility for the companies. So the other point which is helping this industry is with respect to off patent. There are various molecules which are getting off patent, and the biggest one has happened last year. One of the biggest molecules which went off patent. So it gives a chance to all the other local industries to go and produce those molecules and take higher market share and improve the revenue. So this is just a snapshot for you to understand how the agri company works. So there are like lot of employee generation. What we do, so we have close to as the Best Agro itself have close to 1,500 people who are off roles. So their day in day out work is to go and meet farmers. So we generally do meetings which are in the morning with the farmers and meeting in the nights, because during the day farmers are busy in their field. So you see, this is the kind of meetings. So the meetings could happen as low as 10 to 15 farmers to going up to 100 farmers. So any for this industry, any product which if has to success, then it has to be have the acceptance of the farmers. You cannot just go and sell to a dealer or distributor and he can sell. It doesn't happen that way. You need to go to the farmer. You need to so each product takes close to 4 years. You need to go. So after you get the approval from the government, you have to go to the farmers and you have to show them that okay, this product works. You have to take a small plot on lease from the farmers. Then once you apply, you bring all the farmers there and you show them what are the results for untreated part and the treated part. So this is how it happens. So, with respect to the challenges, what we face in this industry is various challenges, because first is that these being a seasonal nature, it brings a lot of volatility. So, you will find that out of 4 quarters, so even Best Agro being a listed entity, we also face same issues that 2 quarters our results are very good, and the other 2 quarters wherein the which are the off season. So there are chances that the results are bad, and then it takes time to for someone to understand that okay, this is seasonal and suddenly profit has dipped, so a lot of explanation has to be required to explain them. And this seasonal business also uh, creates a lot of various issues. So so next point was volatility in the prices, which I already mentioned. That China being the biggest player, where we have a lot of reliance. So any changes happen across the world also impacts India indirectly with respect to the imports. If there's a huge demand, if there's a good season happening in any other part of the country, for example, if Brazil is having a very good sales, then if the demand goes up, the production which happens in China, a lot of exports goes to Brazil, and whatever is left is it comes at a very high cost to India. So there is a lot of volatility in prices which we have to take care. Sales return, which is another one issue, because when you are selling the product, ultimately it has to go to the farmer. Now, most part of India is dependent upon rain, so there are some which are self-sufficient with respect to canals or other sources, but still, monsoon is pretty much the driver of this business. If there's no monsoon, you can easily say that your business could go down by as low as from 10 to 50% lower. So the sales return, you never know. So if you're selling in June, July, and suddenly for that specific crop, if the season is not good, even though it could be little lesser rainfall or it could be higher rainfall, it becomes an issue. And to ensure that you don't have a problem of recoveries, it is the industry norm to take back the material, because if the farmer is not paying to the dealer, dealer will not pay to you. So there is a unwritten rule to take sales return wherever the sales does not happen. Next is with respect to credit assessment. So good part since last few years is that because of the GST, now that more and more people are coming into maintaining their proper books, which is helping presently. Otherwise, there was a case wherein the numbers and everything was not proper with the dealer distributor, and becomes an issue with respect to assessing their credit. But still, this is still remains an issue, because even though most of those shops are partnership firms, you need to ensure that you are assessing their credit properly. And because if the credit is not assessed properly, then it takes a lot of time in follow up with them and recovery from the customers. So next is the inventory management. Again, because it's a seasonal business, assuming that most of my sales happen in June and July, which is the monsoons. So I need to plan backwards, because I cannot produce everything in 1 month for the entire sales which happens in June, July. So I need to go backward and backward based on my production capacities. So if something I need in June, I need to start planning based on December and January. So there is a lot of planning goes with respect to managing the inventory. We need to ensure that we are not buying too much or buying too less. It has to be balanced. Then you need to see your production capacities, how much you can buy, how much you can produce. If you produce little less in the initial months of Jan, Feb, March, then you might have an issue at the later stage to provide those material on time. So a lot of planning goes into inventory management. Next is again very important with respect to risk management, especially the insurance, because you are in that kind of industry where, assuming if there's a smallest of contamination which happens, cross contamination, then farmers might lose their entire field. So I have come across few cases wherein thousands of acres have burned because one product got mixed with other product and the farmers have used it. So it burns the entire crop. So you need to ensure that at all times, that is right from importing, managing your production, maintaining the goods at your warehouses, transporting, selling, and even after selling at the time of usage itself, uh, everything should be covered. Everything should be insured. So last important point is with respect to currency fluctuation. Since we are uh, having a lot of imports, you need to ensure that you are hedging your risk wherever possible, and ensuring that the currency fluctuations are taken care of. So one specific point I would like to discuss is with respect to a lot of agri-tech companies which are coming and coming across various sects. So this is not like this one industry is not like wherein there could be two three players. Like if there are for the delivery, you might have Blinkit, or you might have Dunzo, but and for others you might have two three big players. But for this specific industry, you cannot have just one or two players because no one can cover entire India, because the rural India is pretty divided and it becomes very difficult for just two players to cover everything. So there are various startups which are working in various different fields. So there are someone like Ninja Cart or OTP, those who help in taking the fresh produce from the farmers and directly trying to supply to the customers as early as possible. Then there are a lot of financing companies, which also includes like Jai Kisan, Samunnati, Cashflow. Those try to provide at various distribution channels. Plus, some are providing also to the farmers. Again, that becomes a very difficult thing, because how do you do assessment for a farmer? It becomes very difficult. So one is okay, could be the land, but then there are other factors as well. So there are huge number of startups which are coming in agri, and these startups are helping in providing the technology to the farm community. So there are various which are in the field of precision agriculture and automation. So there are ones which are trying to provide uh, drones. There are one which are trying to provide the satellite mapping, wherein they can identify and say that which part of your field is having more moisture, less moisture, where you should put more sprays and lesser sprays. So it is going in. So we are going in a right direction, but still, because the average holding is still pretty less, so it becomes very difficult for each and every farmer to go and take benefit of those. But still, these startups are pretty much helping in having that inroads. At least there are various crops wherein the farmers are more educated than other farmers. So there are crops like pomegranate, there are crops like mango where they are more educated, and those farmers are taking benefit of these startups. uh, and then we have various startups which are also providing the input materials. For example, the ones which we are selling through distribution network, these startups are also trying to provide direct delivery to the farmer, but those is still at nascent stage because it becomes very difficult. It's like a uh, like farmer. Suppose if you are going to a doctor, then doctor might prescribe. So for farmer, the dealer is like a doctor. So he goes to the dealer, and dealer will explain him which products are better, which are not. So still physical interaction is required here. Still the e-commerce part of the business is pretty nascent, but yeah, it has started and doing some inroads in that. Yeah, the important for all of us is with respect to what opportunities we have for the CAs. So the most important part I feel is with respect to understanding the business and the industry, because so I have also been in Big Four, wherein I was at the other side, where I go and meet the company, where I go and meet the officials and trying to understand what they do or what they don't do. So it's very important. So at Big Four level, the way they approach the client, and at the next level the other chartered accountant firms or other, the way they approach is little different. So the important part for my CA friends is to, when we go and meet the client, it's always better to understand the business and the industry as well. Because what happens is, generally we discuss and say, okay, we are going to do say stat audit, or we are going to do some certification, some other work. But if you don't understand the overall business, you will not know which are the points where possibly they need help. So you wait for the company to say, okay, I have this requirement, and then you try to fulfill. Or there should be other way around, that you try to understand in business, and say that, okay, these are the places where I can help you and I can do some value addition. So the example could be FP and management reporting. If someone is already doing some work, and they know that all the data and everything is not maintained properly. So we as CA, based on our understanding, can help in providing financial planning and analysis and management reporting dashboards to CFOs, dashboards to the finance people, wherein it becomes very easy for them to understand the data. Because most of the places where you will see in MSMEs or still smaller companies, the data is not structured in a proper manner, and there's always because of those unstructured or manual Excel workings, it becomes difficult in decision making. But if you do it for suppose one or two entities, you might easily do it for next 5-10 entities. So FP and management reporting is pretty much the requirement for most of the companies, because a lot of decisions are to be taken. So this could be taken by our CS, because we are obviously good with numbers. We understand what a CFO sees or what a management want to see. Next is one specific again point where possibly VCAs are not working is helping companies with the credit assessment. Obviously, there are specific companies who does this and specific, but then for the smaller companies and MSMEs, they don't, everything is done in house and they might not do it properly. But at least we being CAs, we know how to assess, how to read a balance sheet, how to see the P&L. We understand what are the ratios. We can understand, okay, whether money, whatever sales he is doing, money is coming in his bank statement or not, what payments he is making. And we can also take help of various startups which are providing these reports. So we can go to the companies wherein who have a lot of dealers and distributors, and we can help in providing assessment, so providing the limits to them, and help our clients. So this is one area which I feel possibly VCAs are not doing much here. Next is stock audits. This is one thing which we do in day out for all the CAs what are there, but there's always a little bit of gap in the way what we as a CA can give more value. So stock audit is, if you just say go and count and give a report with respect to difference, will not make any value addition compared to any other CA doing it, because this can be done by any CA firm. But if you want to show your value addition, it's always better that 3-4 or as a checklist can be made to say that whether you have slow moving inventory, you take future projections, you identify things that have been kept properly or not, this proper registration is there or not, the fire drills are properly kept or not, the names are there on the, because even for a company having 30-40 warehouses, a company, it's very difficult to manage to say that okay, whether all the compliance are happening at the warehouse level or not. Next part is with respect to investment itself. So since we understand the numbers, so there are various ways we can invest in startups as well, let it be agri-tech or agri-tech companies as well. Other development. So this again I feel is little missing, because okay, we feel that the company has all the staff and everyone to do their work, but still they would need a lot of guidance, because they would be people who would have newly joined, or the people who might not be doing things properly. Let it be as simple as helping with respect to Excel, helping with respect to financial reporting, helping with respect to FPA management reporting. Small trainings can be taken, and any company would be happy to let you do all those training and development things. And last from my side would be that okay, in this present complex business world, there's a lot of compliances and regulatory things which are there. So there also obviously we are putting a lot of effort, and there still is a good scope where we work on the compliances. So I think this from my side can put some time on the question answers.
Yeah. Because see how the industry has evolved in the recent years and what are the major trends shaping in the future.
Yeah, yeah, industry has evolved a lot. So earlier, for example, there were a lot of patented products which used to come, but slowly we are in a place now. Less and less of patented products are coming in. Rather, uh, and earlier we used to use solo products. For example, there was one crop and there was one molecule. Now the farmer had a practice of mixing two molecules together and using. So now companies started understanding those practices and started mixing two products and started giving to the farmers a much better product. And now there's a trend of mixing three products. So rather than something we spray for two times or so, now the companies are coming out trying to understand from the farmers what are their practice and trying to bring products which will help them in their crop. So now presently three-way mixtures are coming. So effectively you are mixing three products so that the farmer can use just one single spray rather than having using three products and three different sprays. So less and less patented products are coming, more and more differentiated products. These differentiated products can be easily copied by competitors. The other major trend is earlier it was the MNCs which used to mostly rule and had much higher sales. But now, since last few years, we see a lot of Indian companies are also coming up with good products. They are having setting up good R&D facilities and also bringing newer products. So we see more and more Indian companies which are actually coming and giving a tough fight to the MNCs. So this is the basic change in the trend which is happening in the industry.
Yeah, yeah. What type of key skill sets and competencies required by a chartered accountant to succeed in the field of agri and food?
So, so this I already mentioned. That's why I kept that first point to say that understanding of business is important, because generally what happens is, suppose if I'm a CA or a practicing CA, I might have 20 companies. It becomes very difficult for me to go and understand 20 companies. But then if you'll not go and understand the business and the industry, then you'll not be able to provide much value, or rather you will be able to give whatever service he wants and then you will try to give. But so the most important skill set for me, what I think, is to actually go and understand the, like, for example, this session what you're taking. So you can understand how different this industry is. So once you know that this industry is different, the requirements are different. Possibly there's some work in warehouses which they are not doing it properly. There's some work at other levels which the company is not thinking about. Then you can come and do the value. So I think understanding of business is the skill set what I feel.
Because keeping in your experience in the field of this agri sector, how you suggest to the chartered accountants to adopt the industry, to go in this industry for the
So
professional purpose?
no, I think there's no rocket science here too, that someone needs some special degree or some this thing to come to this industry. So I also came through a normal process. So I completed my CA and then I went into Big Four, and I entered in this sector. So once I entered this sector and then I was there for a few years, so I somehow liked this industry, and since then I've been in this industry. So there's no specific thing required to come into this sector, because once you enter this sector, obviously you will try to understand how this sector works. So I don't feel any special requirement is there to enter this sector.
Lalit ji, any other query? Yeah. So just
So possibly we can take one last question and we can close.
yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah. Now I think there is no more questions.
Okay.
Okay. Now, many thanks, Vikasji, for your wonderful presentation. You have,
Thank you.
given a detailed PPT about the agri and food industry and explained each and every aspect, covering the scope of food, financial, accounting challenges, agri-tech startup, and specifically opportunities for the chartered accountants. Many thanks.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Good afternoon and welcome everyone to today's webinar on agri and food industry. I am here to introduce our next guest speaker, CA Leon Verdes sir. CA Leon sir is the interim regional chief financial officer and head of business transformation at Schreiber India, which is a subsidiary of Schreiber Foods US. Schreiber Food is largest private label cheese manufacturer in the United States and in India, manufacturing products for McDonald's, Domino's, Nestle, Britannia, amongst the many others. Leon sir has vast and diverse experience in consumer goods industry with experience in working with Schreiber and Castrol BP. Prior to joining industry, he was working with E&Y and Deloitte, advising large number of consumers and pharma companies. In Schreiber, he has been regional CFO for Asia business and most recently as regional CFO for Europe business overseeing 5 countries. Leon sir is now moving back to India, taking over a new role of leading business transformation, focusing on projects leading new business transformations. Mr. Leon is a recipient of various prestigious awards, the most recent ones being CFO 100 League of Excellence for 5 years from 2015 to 2019, award by CFO India magazine, Most Influential CFOs of India, award given by Chartered Institute of Management Accountants and CFO Leadership awarded by Indira Group of Institute, Pune. Can we have sir?
Thank you, Ayushi, for the introduction. And it's my pleasure to be speaking to the chartered accountants and the industry members. Being from the CA Institute and an institute which has not only given me education, but CA transforms each one's life, and it has also impacted my life in many ways. So it is my pleasure to be here and be speaking on this forum. So let me share my presentation. Okay, so moving on to today's topic, which is the Indian dairy industry trends and drivers. So just by way of introduction, I have spent close to 10 years in the dairy industry working for Schreiber Foods. And many of you may not know the name Schreiber because it's a B2B company, but this is very highly likely that you have eaten the products made by our company. So if you have eaten, say, a McDonald's burger, there is high likelihood that the cheese on the burger is manufactured by Schreiber, not only in India, but many parts of the world. Similarly, if you have eaten, say, a Britannia cheese or any of the Domino's mozzarella cheese, there is high likelihood that this product is coming from Schreiber Foods. So I have been here initially the CFO for India and then moved on to Europe, and I'm happy to be back in India in a new role of business transformation. So talking about the dairy industry, the dairy industry plays a very important part in each and every one of us lives, right? So talking about, say, today morning, your day starts with having milk tea or having a paratha with butter or having a pizza at the end of the day with mozzarella cheese. Dairy is touching almost each and every person's life, and it's a very important part of the Indian diet. It's not only an important part of the diet, but it is also a very important part of the Indian economy. Just in terms of context, dairy is 5% of the GDP of the country and is by far larger than any agri crop, whether it's rice or wheat or any of the other agri crops. Dairy is much, much larger in terms of size. And that is why it plays a very important role in building the economy. So if the dairy industry progresses, there is a high chance that the Indian economy will grow. Now, other key impact of the dairy industry is that it creates employment, and today it supports close to 70 million families. So if you have 70 million farms, you will definitely see that it is impacting close to 280 million people. So dairy plays a very fundamental role in building the economy. So looking at the history of the dairy industry, in the 1950s, India was a milk deficit nation. And it was Dr. Kurian who started the milk revolution. So if you all know that the dairy industry, the milk revolution started in the 1970s, where Dr. Kurian started selling milk without the middlemen at the highest possible price to the farmer. And that is where he converted the village of Anand from a milk deficit district to a milk surplus district. And the Amul model was then replicated during the 1970s and 80s. And by 2000, India has more than 73,000 cooperatives and close to 10 million farmer members. So that is where India, from a milk deficit nation, went from 17 million metric tons. By 2000, it went to 81 million metric tons. So that was the first significant change which helped the dairy industry. The second key change happened during the liberalization, when the economy was opened up, and that is when both on the export side, there were a lot of changes which were being made, and that is where the dairy industry progressed and a lot of international players could enter into India. And that is what opened up and helped India to grow. And today we see that India is the world's largest milk producer, producing 450 million kgs of milk per day and around 221 million metric tons in 2023. The dairy industry is growing annually at 6%. And if you see, it has significantly grown over the last few years. It contributes to 23% of the global dairy industry and is projected to be 33% in the next 5 years. So what are the trends of the future? We are seeing that the dairy industry significantly changed the landscape from the 1950s to 2000. But what do we see as the potential of the dairy industry in future, and what are the trends which are driving that? So if you see, there are 5 key trends which we are looking at. First is the Indian demographics and very low per capita consumption. So if you look at the Indian demographics, against a 1.3 billion population, India has an average age of 27 and a working population today of 860 million. This is expected to go by 2050 to a population of 1.7, age of 37, and a working population of 1.1 billion people. And this is what will drive a change in terms of the amount of disposable income and will also increase the consumption of the dairy market. So this is the first trend which will drive. Now the second one, if you look at from a consumption, we see that India, though being the largest producer of milk, even today, the amount of consumption per person is just except China, is almost the lowest. So when you compare to countries like Brazil, Russia, Europe, or US, India is still much behind in terms of consumption of milk per person. And this is where there is huge potential with the increase in income disposable available with the people. We expect that the consumption of milk per person is going to go up, and that is going to drive growth of the dairy industry. The other trend, if you see on the per capita consumption, India's per capita consumption grew 3% versus globally it is growing only 1%. So Indian dairy industry is growing much faster than the world, and that is where it is going to go from 25% of the global dairy industry to 33% over the next few years. Now, the other important trend which is in India is there is a vast and growing vegetarian population. And as we know, for vegetarian people, the most of the protein comes from dairy. And this is where, because of the vegetarian diet, there is huge potential again that with increase in disposable income and high vegetarian population, the demand for dairy products is consistently going to go up. Now, the other trend which we see is that the milk economy and the growing organized sector. So if you look at the Indian dairy industry today is worth 13 trillion rupees. And this is expected to grow at a 15% CAGR over the next 5 years. And we expect that by 2030, the dairy industry would move to 26 trillion rupees. And most of the growth is that the organized sector is growing faster than the cooperative. And that's where we are seeing that the organized sector, which is worth 5 trillion today, is also expected to grow significantly over the next few years. There are a large number of multinational companies and Indian corporates who are continuously focusing on dairy and trying to enter the dairy market to take advantage of this large dairy growth potential. So the other trend which we see is that in the dairy industry, predominantly the large consumption milk was in traditional products. Like you'll consume liquid milk, or maybe you'll consume ghee, or maybe butter. But over a period of time, we are seeing that large number of value-added products, the growth is significantly going up. Like if you say the case of paneer growth is growing at a rate of 23% per year. Curd is growing at a rate of 22%. UHT products, which are the flavored milk and other categories of products, which are growing at almost 23%, 20%. Cheese is significantly growing. If you see the consumption of cheese on a pizza or consumption of cheese on a burger is significantly growing, and that is driving the growth of the dairy industry. So moving on, if you see predominantly dairy was being managed and dominated by cooperatives. Every state has their own cooperative. Like if you see here, you can see the biggest one being Amul, which is in Gujarat. But every state, like Karnataka Milk Federation has Nandini. There is in Punjab, we have Verka, we have Sahas in Rajasthan, and then we have Avin in Tamil Nadu. So if you look at cooperatives, these have been predominantly the strong players in the dairy industry and who focus on predominantly the key products like liquid milk coming to your home, or butter coming to your home, or ghee coming to your home. But more and more now we are seeing a trend that the private dairy players are coming up in every state, and a lot of international private players like Lactalis, who is the largest dairy in the world, has been in India. We have recently Britannia and Bell, who have created a joint venture in India. We had Fonterra, which is a New Zealand dairy company coming to India. We have Schreiber, which is a US company in India. So you have large number of international players coming to India, and the pace at which the private sector is growing is much faster than the pace at which the cooperatives are growing. And most of the private dairy companies are focused on value-added dairy products. So they're coming up with large amount of investments on cheese, large amount of investments on flavored milk, large amount of investments on paneer. So more and more value-added products are coming in the market, and this is where we expect significant growth of the dairy industry and in the next few years. The other key driver which we see is that the digital revolution which is impacting the dairy industry. So we are seeing more and more in the dairy industry that uh, so we are seeing 1 second. So we are seeing that in the digital revolution that on the sourcing of milk, there is a lot of technology which is coming in. We are having more and more focus on big data. There is more and more automation of the farms. So today, in the milk industry, we are seeing that there are a lot of equipments which are helping in terms of monitoring the health of the animal, monitoring the temperature of the cow, then monitoring the yield of the milk. So there is a lot of focus on technology, which is driving a significant change in helping to improve the productivity of the animals as well as the practices of the farmers. So what are the challenges? So when you look at the challenges, we see that one of the key challenges for the dairy industry is the quality of the milk. There is, because this is fresh dairy and there is significant amount of milk which goes to the cold channel, there is also many times there are cases of adulteration and cases of quality not being as per the standards. And that is where there is a need for having a robust supply chain which needs to be developed. And that is one of the key challenge which the dairy industry has. When we compare with the quality which India has versus the quality of international players, the Indian dairy industry needs to step up in terms of both the practices in the supply chain as well as the practices on the shop floor to have better quality of milk. Then if you look at the other challenges is also on the availability of feed. Because as you know that for milk, the cows need both a green fodder and we need dry fodder. And for availability of milk for feed, there is need for significant amount of land to grow the feed. And there is more and more challenges in terms of availability of land and availability of water to get that feed. And that is where, because of these challenges, feed availability continues to remain a challenge for the farmer. And as a result of not having the right feed, we see that many a times the yield of the animal goes down. And when the yield of the animal goes down, the quantity of the volume of milk goes down. Now, the other important trend we are seeing is the changing greenhouse effects and the effect of the weather conditions. Significant amount of the heat stress and the weather conditions impacts the health of the cow. And when it impacts the health of the cow, the yield of the animal goes down. And when the yield of the animal goes down, the productivity and the milk volumes come down. So that's one of the key challenge. The other key challenge of the dairy industry is climate change. We see that there is carbon intensity in developing countries, which we are seeing that when we have large amount of carbon emissions coming from the cows, this is impacting the environment, and this continues to remain a challenge for the dairy industry. The other key challenge is that the productivity of milk per animal. So if you look at this trend, the yield of an animal in the US per cow per day, the milk per animal is around 27 liters of milk per day. And when you look at many of the other countries, India is almost at the lowest volume of milk per day. So in case of a buffalo, it is around 5 liters of milk per day. And in case of a cow, it's about 4 liters of milk per day. And that is where if India has to grow on the global scale, India needs to focus on the quality of the milk as well as the productivity of the animal. Because if the productivity of the animal remains low, then the number of cows needed to generate the same amount of milk significantly goes up, and then that creates impact on all the resources which the farmer needs to invest in. So in summary, when we look at the demand for dairy, we see that because of the demographics which we spoke about, the large population, large young population, the level of income growing, the vegetarian population, and continuously focus on value-added products, we see that the demand for the dairy products is continuing to grow and is expected to significantly grow in the next few years. Now, as we know that if the dairy industry grows, it is a significant component of the Indian economy. And if the dairy industry grows, the Indian economy will grow. And if the dairy industry grows, and if you have better quality of milk, this leads to better health of the people due to better nourishment. And again, that is why dairy plays a significant role in the health of the people. Dairy also plays a significant role in creating employment. Today, dairy supports 70 million farmers or farms, which means effectively close to 280 to 300 million people. And in the long term, with the growth of dairy, it's expected to create employment for close to 100 million families. And that is why it will be a key component of creating livelihood and impacting the life of the agrarian economy. And that is why dairy plays an important role. Now, one of the key things when we've seen on the challenges, we've seen that the farmer needs technology, not only for improving the quality of the milk, but also the productivity of the milk. So today there is large number of startups which we are working where we are focusing on improving the quality of the milk by better traceability of the supply chain, by knowing from which farm the milk is coming, not only knowing from which farm, but from which farmer the milk is coming, and in many cases, not only which farmer, but which animal the milk is coming from. And that is where by better technology, better data, the farmers can take effective measures for improving the quality of the milk. And also with better data, the farmer can take effective steps for improving productivity of the milk. And that is one of the key important drivers which will help the dairy industry to grow in the future, because we will continue to need milk, but to get the milk at a better quality and with better productivity needs a lot of investments on the back end in technology and in different cooling equipment, which will help the dairy industry. The other key driver which we are seeing is the focus or needs for having carbon neutral solutions, to try and focus on more and more having green initiatives taken to reduce the impact of methane and other gases in the environment. So how can the CAs participate in this growth? When we see that significantly the industry is growing, but as a chartered accountant, how can you contribute in helping this industry grow? Now, first, I think the most simple and fundamental way is to join this industry, like in my case, where I initially started my career as a chartered accountant in the Big Four, audited different companies in the consumer goods industry. And that's where I understood the business, understood the accounting nuances, and then went on to join Schreiber, and that's where I started my career. Now, one of the important things in when you come as a partner or business partner working for a dairy company, I think one of the roles which could be is to start as a cost analyst, where you start working and understanding the shop floor and also the farmer economics, understanding how is milk collected, understanding how is the production of milk for moving from converting milk to say butter or converting milk to cheese. What are the shop floor practices? What is the yield of the product? What are the efficiencies on the shop floor? So that is the first step. If you have to, as a chartered accountant, to start learning the grassroots of the industry, understand the nuances, and then support the different operating teams as a business partner, giving the right reliable information to help them make the right decisions. The other key role which you as a chartered accountant can play is to join in the FP&A role, where you help in building the budgeting process or help in working with the commercials, pricing, or helping the sales team on making better pricing decisions, helping them work with customers on negotiations. So that is also a role which you can play. And then finally, you can also be working in the financial reporting part, where you are reporting the results, say under the US GAAP, or you're reporting results under the Indian GAAP. Now, apart from this, where a chartered accountant can work with the dairy industries as a consultant, supporting many investment proposals and funding with the banks. As we know, there will be uh, the farmers need many a times a lot of support in doing the due diligence of their projects, in terms of helping them getting to know the best available agri financing available. And as a consultant, there are many chartered accountants you work with who support not only the industry partners like us, but also support the farmers on many projects in terms of getting better invest the proposals passed on with the bank and helping them in funding, because that is also a key part of growing the industry. The other key area where again chartered accountants can play a role is there is different types of subsidies which the government keeps announcing to facilitate and support this industry. And chartered accountants definitely play a role in not only supporting the farmers, but in many times also play a role in advocacy with the government in getting different types of schemes approved. So there, if you're a consultant and working with different players, I think if you're working with a firm who's supporting uh, in getting subsidies, I think that is something you will learn if you join a firm which is working on this type of projects. Then another key area which remains is compliance. There is a lot of compliance which we need to do on a day-to-day basis, and as chartered accountants, you can help in compliance, whether it is GST reporting, whether it is corporate tax reporting. So definitely that is another area. Now, another area which is mergers and acquisition. So as we seen that dairy industry in India is the largest globally. So there are large number of global players continuing to try to enter the Indian dairy market. And there are different types of uh, deals which happen at various points of time. And there is where, if you're working for, say, a big four or an investment firm and working on any of the merger and acquisition opportunities, then definitely there will be where you as a chartered accountant will come up with opportunities where there are potential customers who want to enter the dairy industry, and you can be of support in terms of helping them finding the right partner, or helping them doing a due diligence, or say doing a complete M&A advisory role. The other key role which many of the chartered accountants can play is there are large amount of digitization projects which are coming right now, which is whether it is to deal with connecting the backward supply chain, which is say starting from the farmer to the agent and from the agent to the company. There are large amount of digital solutions which need to be developed, and that's where we can see many startups coming in this field to develop not only cold chain type digital solutions but also many softwares which are helping the farmers to have more digital solutions in terms of how to monitor the farm practices, how to monitor the milk payments. So there are many technology solutions which are coming up here. Then again, we can see that startups for backward and forward integration are also coming in. And finally, we can see that the reducing the carbon footprint is another key area which as chartered accountants we can contribute. So in terms of aspirations, there is the government recently had announced that for the next 25 years, today we are at 238 million metric tons of milk production per year. So the government expects that in the next 25 years, the dairy industry is going to significantly grow from 221 to about 628 million metric tons. That is the aspiration of the government because they believe that dairy is a key part of the economy and the government will continue to focus on growing this sector. And to grow this sector, they'll continue to provide investment, support, and necessary ecosystem for this industry to grow. And the government also aspires that they want to start exporting dairy products out of India. Because today India is close to milk self-sufficiency. There are very few opportunities in few countries where India exports. But India expects that in the future we will have much more opportunities coming out of export and wants to be a surplus milk nation. And that's where it continues to remain a key focus for the government. And we expect that this industry will significantly grow in the next few years. So as chartered accountants, are you ready to be participant in this key sector? And do you believe that you want to be part of this sector and support in nation building? So just in terms of my reflection, being part of this industry, I see that we have significant amount of impact. We have key impact which we make as Schreiber. Today we make impact to close to 50,000 farmers. And we are continuing to develop more and more value-added products. And from this value-added products, create more and more demand and opportunities for the farmers. So when you are part of this industry, there is a significant social economic impact which you make, not only to the lives of the farmers, to the employees, but also to the overall economy. And that's where being part of this industry is something which you will see that is not only just a job, but it becomes a big mission which you want to be part of and contribute in nation success. So those were the key trends which I was focusing on, and now I'll open for question answers from the group.
Sir, I have some questions. First question is how does India compare to other global dairy powerhouses?
Right. So in terms of overall volume, today India is the largest dairy player in the world. We are close to 25% of the global dairy industry. And in terms of number of animals, we have close to 330 million animals and 70 million farmers who are contributing in this industry. So we are the number one player in terms of volume. Now, in terms of from a global standpoint, there are two important areas where India needs to step up. First is the quality, and second is also the productivity. So as you know that Indian dairy farming is significantly different from the global dairy farming. So in the global dairy farms, most cases dairy is operated by commercial farmers, where you have, say, a large farm, where you'll have 100, 200 animals in a farm, and it will be managed by a professionally managed farmer. But in India, dairy farming is managed by marginal farmers. Each family has close to 2 or 3 animals, and it is managed by the family. And that is where, in terms of overall quality and productivity, there is a significant place where India has to go in terms of the way in which we manage the dairy, the main way professionally we manage our animals, the feed, and that's where on from a quantity standpoint we are good, but from qualitative standpoint there is a long way to go for the Indian dairy industry to be at par with the global dairy industry.
Sir, as you said that we need to improve our quality. So, what are the export potentials for Indian dairy products? Because we are not still at par with the global dairy powerhouses in terms of quality.
Correct. So because of the not being on par with the global dairy quality, in fact, many countries do not allow today Indian dairy products to be exported to. So like European Union, US, there are very restrictive measures being put in place. And there are only few opportunities today India, the highest opportunities which India has in terms of export is to Bangladesh and to Asian countries and to Middle East, right? But we don't have really today potential to export to developed countries because of the quality of the product, and that is where India needs to step up.
Yeah. So, what is the cooperative structure of Indian dairy industry and its impact?
Right. So as you've seen that because dairy is not just an industry, it plays a very significant impact on the socio-economic structure of the nation, and that is why it is highly regulated in many states, where, like in case of Gujarat, you have Amul, or in case of Tamil Nadu, you have Nandini. All right. So these cooperatives, their role is just not maximizing profits, but their role is to have help the farmers in terms of continuing to buy their milk at the right price, and many a times the price at which they buy may not be economically viable for many other operate with, because maybe they are making losses but they're getting subsidies from the government, and that is where they are still able to survive and private players cannot survive. So cooperatives play an important role in every many states, and the state governments continue to focus on supporting the farmers. Like recently, I can give an example. Like in the state of Maharashtra, the state government has announced subsidies. So today the milk price which is paid to the farmer is 30 rupees per liter, but the government gives 5 rupees additional subsidy for the farmer. And this is just to promote the dairy sector, because again the government sees a significant focus, and that is where cooperative plays an important role. Now, one more important thing is in the cooperative model, if you look at Amul, right, the farmer is a shareholder of that company. So, which means that the farmer is a beneficiary of how much profits that entity makes. And that is where if Amul is growing, the farmer is prospering, and Amul is able to try to gain for the betterment of the producers. So that's where cooperatives play an important role, very important to control significant part of the state uh, dairy industry. At the same time, they also play an important role in supporting the farmers.
Okay, so the way a cooperative works, Does it have impact on export also?
So it is so not directly. For us today, export is depends on the opportunities, right? So whether you are a private player or a cooperative, both have similar opportunities to export out of India. So the selling price of the product is similar. So if you are competing in the international dairy market and you are able to sell at the right price, then whether you're a cooperative or you're a private player, it doesn't significantly impact.
Okay. And sir, how can our technology and innovations drive growth in the sector?
Right. So one of the fundamentals focus of technology is to improve the way in which we manage our farms today, right? So today, as we mentioned, that most of the farmers today are marginal farmers, right? But if the dairy industry has to progress, we need to get more and more farmers moving from being marginal farmers to being professionally managed farms. And for these professionally managed farms to be then monitored to technology supported of equipments, right? So there are a large number of farms which we are seeing a lot of trend that there is significant focus on good quality milk. And to get this good quality milk, there is the best in class infrastructure which farms are investing in. And by this investment, they are able to monitor the health of the cow. They're able to monitor the feed which they need to give to the cow. Then they're able to monitor when they need to be given the right medicines, and also the temperature and other quality aspects in the supply chain. So when the product reaches, say, your house, say you want to have the best quality milk, then you will get a milk from a farm which has the best equipment, and you can trace the quality of the milk, and you know that it's coming in a supply chain where the chilling temperature is also monitored. And also you'll start getting from technology, you'll start getting the right visibility on quality. The other key aspect of technology is also about data, right? So as I mentioned that significant number of farmers today are marginal farmers. So today Schreiber buys milk from 50,000 farmers. So think about a situation that you need to monitor 50,000 vendors. So if you have to monitor so many vendors, you need to have technology to monitor the data of the quality of the milk, the temperature of the milk, the what time the milk was loaded, what time the milk was unloaded. So for all of this, technology plays a key role, and we are working on different projects trying to get the right data. And if we get the right data, then we can work on effective measures to monitor quality. And also that data can also be used for improving productivity. And so technology is very, very important to change the way in which we are managing this industry today. You're on mute now.
Yeah. So what is the impact of urbanization and changing lifestyles on dairy consumption?
Correct. So as you know today, significant portion of the Indian population, right, are in terms of middle class, lower middle class, and poor, right? Now with the demographics which we have, large amount of young population, this young population is continuing to get into the employment, and with employment, their increase in disposable income is significantly going up. So with this trend, the increase in disposable income is leading to having significant amount of value added products like cheese, right? Ordering of a pizza, ordering of a burger. And this is not only happening in cities, but significant amount of changes are happening in towns and also in mid-sized rural areas, right? So the reach of pizza chains is right now to rural India. And with this penetration, we are seeing significant amount of increase in the consumption of, say, cheese, consumption of value-added dairy products, consumption of paneer. So more and more packaged and processed dairy products are significantly on the rise, and we are seeing only this going to go up. So if you look at the last 5 years, all these product categories have been growing close to 20 to 22% per year. So with urbanization, it is expected this to be significantly going up, and that is where if you see it from 220 from 221 metric tons, we are expecting in the next 25 years milk almost to go to 600 million metric tons. So this is a sector which will grow. The demand will continue to be there, and the important piece is to focus on dairy and get the milk, because milk is not where you can press a button and you can get a milk, right? You need to have investment in animals. You need to work on the health of the animal. You need to work on their right medicines, right feed. So there is a lot of things which go into the inputs to get the right quality of milk. And that is where maybe on the demand side, you will see that uh, there is a lot of demand, but maybe if you don't take the right measures to improve quality and productivity, you might see that we might need to import milk from other countries, because if you don't have enough of water, or if you don't have enough of feed, and if you don't have enough of farmers who are focused and interested in the dairy business, then we might see that the milk is going down. Right, so that is why there is needs to be, and that is why the state governments continue to monitor that there is enough investment and motivation for the farmers to invest in dairy and to invest in the right quality of milk. Because again, as I mentioned, a good quality milk means healthy people, and healthy people means a prosperous nation.
Yes, sir. So we need to work on the other factors also to improve the quality.
Correct. A lot of
Okay.
different factors.
Okay. So what are the key government policies and initiatives supporting the dairy sector?
So there are different types of uh, state policies, right? So right now there is subsidy which has been announced in Maharashtra. It's a very state subject. So state governments focus on dairy as a key priority and continue to focus on providing support and subsidy to the farmers. So like in different states, in Gujarat, there are different types of schemes announced. In Tamil Nadu or Karnataka, there is all continuously subsidy announced to the farmer. So in Maharashtra, there is subsidy which is announced. So the one is the milk subsidy which is there. The other measure which is many times given is to give loans at concessional prices. So dairy farmers many times or the dairy sector get specific benefits of getting loans at concessional prices, so that for investments there is some benefits which the farmers can get. Also for investment into equipment or into plants, there are some package incentive schemes like investment promotion scheme which the government is giving from time to time, and dairy continues to be a key sector of focus.
Okay, sir. Sir, what are the challenges and opportunities arising from government regulations?
Right, so one of the key challenge continues to be how to, like as a chartered accountant, if you have to review the subsidy and you need to review subsidy given to 50,000 to 100,000 farmers, right? So the amount of data and the traceability of how that is disbursed continues to remain a challenge, and government is working on different digital initiatives to try and improve the transparency, but that remains a challenge in terms of monitoring how the subsidies are given, how they are disbursed, what is the way in which payments are made. So there are a lot of different challenges around that.
Yes, sir. Sir, what are the key financial challenges faced by the dairy companies and how can chartered accountants address them?
Right. So financial challenges, I would say first, let's go with the challenge of a dairy farmer before going, because there is a dairy farmer and then there is a dairy producing plant, right? So let's look at first the dairy farmer. So I think the first most important challenge, I want to open a dairy farm, right?
Mm.
So if I want to open a dairy farm, if I have to have two animals like a marginal farmer, those are easy decisions because you don't make significant investments. But if I want to open, say, a commercial farm, that involves investment in the infrastructure for the cattle. There is investment in the milk cooling parlors. There is investment into the milking machine. So there are a lot of investments which the farmers have to make, and many times the biggest challenge the farmers face is not having clear financial models, right? Not making clearly risk assessment of whether if they take a loan, whether they can repay that loan. And that is where the role of a chartered accountant comes to do the feasibility of the project, do an analysis of the cash flow projections, prepare a proper feasibility report, and look at the risk and the opportunities there. So many chartered accountants definitely help in this area in terms of not only preparing feasibility reports, working with the farmers, going to the bank for a sanction of the loan, looking at what subsidies are available. So if you are a chartered accountant, uh, closely understanding this sector and then working with different farmers gives you an opportunity to learn around that, right?
Right, sir. Sir, how can a chartered accountants contribute to the growth and profitability of dairy companies?
Correct. So for a dairy company, now I'll come to dairy company. What are the challenges first a dairy company faces, right? So the most imp important industry challenge, right? First is you definitely have to have the investment in setting up a dairy plant is significant. You cannot just set up a dairy plant with small investments. Usually, any dairy plant, if you have to invest, it takes between 200 to 250 crores, 300 crores. So there are significant investments which need to be made to set up a dairy plant. Now, once you set up a dairy plant, the key challenge is dealing in dairy. It means you are dealing with a product which is coming to you daily. It's a fresh product, right? And
Right.
it is a perishable product. So you have to, if you have entered into dairy, you need to make sure that you have either the product is possible to be stored, whether in the form of putting it into Tetra packs or freezing it. But if it is able to be stored, then fine. But if it is, say, a fresh milk and you don't have a customer to sell that milk, that ends up into losses. So it's very important from a planning standpoint that when a dairy company is being set up, to know that what is the demand for the product and whether you have consistent demand for the product so that you don't have losses from the product getting spoiled because it's a perishable product. And that is where uh, many dairy companies have to really manage well how they process the milk, how they store it, avoid the perishability part, also avoid the fluctuations. The other important part is the fluctuation in the prices. Because what happens, say you're buying butter, right? And you're buying butter at today's price, and the price of the butter drops. You end up making losses. So that is where you have to, so when you're in finance, right, you have to continue to monitor what are these challenges and continue to provide real-time information to the business team to make sure you're making the real-time decision of deciding how much milk to buy, how much milk to process, how much to sell. And that is where you have to be a close business partner, have the data, information, understanding the nuances, and help in making quick decisions. So one of the, I think, so the fundamental difference, say, working in a dairy company versus other companies is the speed at which, because every day there is product coming to you, and every day
Yeah.
you need to react, and every day you need to take action. So you have to be fast at decision making, information has to be fast, and that is where it's a very fast moving consumer goods. So you have to be on.
Transportation. Yeah, transportation of these dairy products need to be improved because, as you said, it is a perishable in nature.
Correct.
So it does
So
not go waste and
correct,
make the losses.
correct. Cold chain for the product, for cold chain has
Yeah.
to be developed, and that cold chain definitely creates a lot of impact. Yeah.
Okay, sir. Sir, what are the evolving consumer preferences in the Indian dairy market?
Right. So as you've seen that consumer preferences, so there is significant change moving from the traditional dairy products like butter, ghee, and liquid milk to more and more products are we are having change of trend towards more, I would say, fancy products, right? So like a mozzarella cheese on a pizza or a slice of cheese on a burger, or you can see also the trend of flavored milk or a flavored lassi, and then packaged paneer. So those are the trends, and then also you're seeing also different new trends where plant-based products are coming. Say almond milk is coming in, or there are some other types of plant-based products coming. So there is a lot of trend on this segment. Then there is another key focus on protein intake, right? So if you look at whey protein concentrates, whey powder, so there is a lot of also focus on whey-based products. And then there is also focused on a lot of health drinks. So there is conscious trend of so two key trends. First is amount of disposable income is going up, so more and more value added products, more and more fancy products are coming in. So if you see products like epigamia dessert, so you see many of the other value added products which are coming in the market. And second, also a trend of health products. There is a lot of consciousness on the health of the people, and people are buying more and more health focused products.
Yes, sir. Sir, how can the stakeholders prepare for the future challenges and opportunities?
Right, so future changes and opportunities, right? So as we said that the dairy industry is going to go through a transformational growth. So to focus on this growth in all the aspects of the different channels, which is the back end. So on the back end, working with the farmers in first guiding them on making the right investments, working on commercial farms, working on technology in improving the health of the animal, working in veterinary services, working in different types of feed management services. So the back end itself is one industry where you have to consistently have investment, technology, and people who are focusing on the back end. So which is to get the right quality of milk. Then you have the the processing, right, where you are producing the product. So the getting the best technology of say a cheese manufacturing plant or a whey processing plant or having the best technology of PET machines. So the continuously investments there. And the third is on the supply chain to the market. So from the processing till the market and till your house, having a supply chain. And in the long term, I think you as a consumer want to know if you have had milk or which date was it packed or where was it, which farm is it coming from. So those are the type of trends where there is, I would say, in continuous investment on both technology and process, which needs to be worked on for future growth.
Okay, sir. Sir, is there any specific roles and responsibilities of chartered accountant in this industry?
So no specific role, I would say. It's very similar to any other FMCG company, right? But I would say it's a very engaging role, right? So you will see that if you are involved in this industry, you will be continuously part of the business and helping different stakeholders make decisions. As I've explained earlier, that there is a lot of things changing on a daily basis. So you as a chartered accountant, if you're working for a dairy company, you will be continuously involved in getting a lot of data and speaking to different stakeholders, whether it is on the price of the product or whether it is on making decisions about purchasing milk tomorrow, whether it is about what is the price at which I should sell the product, or what is the decision I need to make about disposing my inventory. So there are a lot of roles when you as a business partner sitting in the industry in the company has to play as a chartered accountant. Now the other important factor is if you are say a chartered accountant in profession, then you can play the role of being a good consultant to the farmers, or being a good consultant on getting subsidies, or working on mergers and acquisitions, or on all of these aspects. Yeah.
Okay, sir. I think you have answered all my questions, so I have no more questions left.
Okay. Thank you so much for the opportunity. It was great to interact with all the members. And as I mentioned, dairy is an important industry for nation building. And as chartered accountants, the more you can contribute, being part of some of the nuances of this industry and supporting on growing this industry, I think it's a key part of nation building.
Thank you, everyone. The speakers, CA Vikas sir and CA Leon sir, for their excellent thought-provoking talks. CA Dheeraj sir, Chairman of CMIB, and CA Sanjeev sir, Vice Chairman of CMIB, for organizing the session. Thanks to all the participants, and looking forward to more such interactive and informative sessions.
Thank you.
Thank you, Arushi. Thank you, Leon sir. Thank you, Shiv sir. We can conclude the session.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you.